What is going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I've got for you guys a big old box. No, not actually just a box. There is a PC inside this box, still sealed from shipping, and it came from Zach's Tech Turf Restockable Builds on his website. So today I'm going to take you through the complete raw consumer experience, being that this is what I got from Zach's Tech Turf as it was shipped to me. I've done nothing to the box so far. It's been sitting in my house. I've been waiting to open it. The only thing I've done is remove the shipping label, obviously for my own personal reasons, but we're going to get the PC out of this box, see what the whole complete package is, make sure nothing is damaged, make sure everything looks good and is built well from a PC builder perspective, but ultimately test, is it worth the $860 price tag that I paid for? Let's go. But before that, I want to take a quick moment and tell you guys about today's video sponsor, being Southern New Hampshire University. It is now back to school time, and the recent years have shown us how ever more important remote learning can be for students. Years ago, when I was trying to study for a new IT career but also work in a daily dead-end job, meant I had to attend night classes at night, which left me exhausted to my very core. If only there was a resource like what SNHU offers today to learn at my own pace. So if you're interested in starting a career in computer science, cybersecurity, software engineering, and so much more, then I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, Southern New Hampshire University. SNHU has one of the largest accredited nonprofit online degree offerings in the country. But let me point out some further amazing facts about their computer science degree specifically. And in this program, you'll gain skills to enter one of the nation's fastest growing fields. You'll learn core key languages like Python, Java, and C++. And even further expand your toolbox with experience in full stack development, integrating the use of JavaScript, SQL, and even Amazon Web Services. You'll learn agile software methodologies and develop a security mindset that will help you understand some of the biggest challenges in the current industry. And to add to that, SNHU also provides cloud-based virtual environments and some courses to give you access to technology you need to earn your degree and build your career. And did I mention that SNHU is radically affordable? Their tuition rates are some of the lowest in the country. So head on over to snhu.edu/PCTechHustle, also linked in the description below, to see the current average annual salary for a developer and request information about the program. When you request information, a real person will hop on a call and discuss how the program can benefit you today. In the future, there will be two categories of jobs for people: those who tell computers what to do and those who are told by computers what to do. Which one will be you? Okay, so first thing I want to do here is just give a overall inspection of the box that it came in. Right off the bat, I see some really good things. Zach's got fragile labels all across the box on all sides, I believe. So very good that he's at least, you know, giving that warning to the parcel service, even though who knows how well they'll really treat it. It does look like it got a little bit dinged right up here in the front. There's a small little puncture that you guys can see. Looking at that, doesn't seem like it's too bad, so I'm not super worried about that. It seems like it's taped up very well, and I think it's double boxed because this is a non-PC box, and he's got some corner protectors on all corners. So every single corner is protected from a drop. How well these ultimately work, who knows, but it's definitely an extra step to take in terms of protecting the product. It's something I do as well. It's better than doing nothing, right? So far, major kudos to Zach on everything here. And by the way, guys, I want to make mention, this is not in any way whatsoever to rip Zach's Tech Turf on his PC builds. Obviously, he builds amazing looking PCs. I'm a big fan of him as well. This was simply something I happened to notice on, I think it was Instagram or Facebook. I was just scrolling through and noticed that he had mentioned that his restockable builds were available, and this one was going for $799, so $60 in shipping is how I got to the $860 price point. But I was looking at the specs, seeing a 12100F i3 and an RX 6500 XT, and it really got me skeptical on, is that really worth the price point? So we'll get into that later in the video because I have done some math on that. But for now, let's give him the benefit of the doubt on that. Obviously, he's trying to run a business and make a profit as well, so we can't ding a guy for that at all whatsoever. You're not in business to lose money, you're in business to make money, right? So let's see what's inside here and make sure everything is intact and get into the review. All right, so like I mentioned, I think it is double boxed, so I think I'm just going to cut it open right here on the top and get everything open. It says this side up, so I am following the instructions of what Zach says here is to open it from this side up. Although funny, I think it was delivered to me with it standing up as it is. Hopefully that won't be a problem. The only thing I guess I kind of worry about with that is the GPU going to be somewhat dislodged because of that? But that's not any fault of Zach's. That's just the parcel service that was really not giving too much care to it. Now, interesting opening the box with these corner protectors. I guess I'm going to kind of have to just give it a yank. Yeah, there we go. Okay, there we go. Here's what we got. Yeah, it's double boxed, so that's good. We got some bubble wrap here on the inside and some more of that kind of like sealed air wrap. There we go. Okay. Now I can see where the PC is. I do like how he packaged everything inside. He's got the PC laying basically wedged in the corner and then used the component boxes to help kind of create a cushion. Since most of them are probably empty boxes, that's actually, I think, a pretty smart way of shipping the PC. Oh, this is interesting. So he did send the CPU box, and this thing's heavy. There's a cooler inside here. So that's actually pretty neat of him to do that. Maybe because he's got a bunch already and doesn't really need it. I do like that he did include that, and it's a raw, brand new Intel cooler. So pretty neat that he went ahead and included that, even though that the PC comes with an aftermarket cooler. A little extra bonus there for you, Zach. Okay, got it standing up. And as you can see, a little bit more cushion here, not too much. Obviously this wrap will just kind of pop easily in shipping, but I guess something's better than nothing. So let's get all this out of the way. Alrighty, we've got a lot more space now available to us now that we got the big giant box out of the way. Again, very nice to see that Zach took the extra precautions to put in an outer box. I think that definitely does help protect the product, and the way he packaged it inside, I don't see anything wrong with that. Still looking good. So let's get this box open and get the actual PC out. I'm just gonna cut along the top. Okay, he's actually got a little bit extra packing material in here to protect it further, so good to see. And looks like we've got one of his quick start manuals up front, so let's take a quick look at it real fast. So right here we've got the ZTT quick start manual, handwritten, enjoy the build by Zach. So always very nice to see his personal touch. Basically, first things to do, obviously he's writing this in a fashion of if you've never really set up a gaming PC before. So it says first things to do, stop before ripping anything into shreds, throwing away any packing material, save that. So that's good just in case you need to return it, so you can make sure your refund is eligible. So once you have removed the PC from the box, give it an in-depth visual inspection, no damage, blah, blah, blah. Please do not try to troubleshoot, as this is, I think, his pretty standard quick start thing where he doesn't want you messing with it just in case there's a problem. Let him handle it and his team. I think that's obviously the way to go. If the PC is good to go, then plug in the keyboard and mouse and blah, blah, blah. And this is just kind of like how to go through setup as far as getting the PC rocking and rolling. So, and then at the very end it says, again, thank you for purchasing this PC and allowing me to continue to do what I do. If you have any issues, please email support@zaxtechturf.com. I would also love to see a picture of your gaming setup with the new PC and tag me in it with Instagram. So maybe we'll do that. We'll get it all set up and give him a little tag. So anyway, very cool to see a quick startup guide and the handwritten thank you from Zach. I think that adds a nice personal touch. I know he puts a lot of care and passion into his products. So let's see what we got. We get a little bit of, oh, got a power cord. Okay, good. And everything's still looking pretty good and intact, by the way. I just want to make mention of that. There we go. And I hate the amount of static these styrofoam things create. If you're a PC builder, you know what I'm talking about. There we go. Okay, get the styrofoam out of the way. I do like the look of this PC. I'm growing more and more fond of white PCs. So what we got here, looks like we've got some Instapack that's protecting over the CPU cooler and GPU to kind of keep things in place. So let's open it up. Actually, I'm gonna flip it down since we have an overhead to help us out with that. Okay, I don't know how this PC case opens. About to find out. I think there's a button. What is that? Oh, that's a... That scared me. That's a headset holder. That is a cool little feature of the case, though. I thought that was a button to open the case. I don't see any screws, so I'm assuming there's something to unlatch it. Looks like I found it. There we go. Okay, I was about to say that's going to make me look bad as a PC builder. Alrighty, so in here we've got more plastic wrap. Good to see. Kind of keeps things in place, and I actually agree with what he did there. There isn't really enough room really to add another Instapack. I think the only thing you would do is stuff it down in there, but it would probably make the glass pop open, and really you don't need it for a smaller build like this. So I think this is fine to put this plastic wrap up front. And let's get the Instapack out. And he says don't rip it out. So obviously kind of with this stuff, it does kind of form to the components, so you kind of just want to give it gentle wiggles and pull on it. There we go, got it loose. So let's tip it back up so we can get a good look at the components inside and just check out the build quality here. Okay, so I moved up here on the side of my camera just so I can look at it kind of from your guys' perspective. But let's check out everything here. So Everything seems to be well in place. I don't see any particular problems here. The graphics card is very snug, so it doesn't look like anything got dislodged or anything like that. Just double check on all the connectors. They seem like they're pretty tight and on there. And that's, I'd say, pretty much it for visual inspection. I did happen to notice that the RAM looks like it's a little different here. So we've got a 3200 megahertz CAS latency 16 module, so pretty good module, a white module, so it fits. And he does make mention that sometimes based on part availability, some things might be slightly different, like RAM. Let's get that back into place. I was just kind of curious with that. Okay, and then looking at other things here, it looks like there is a different SSD in there. This is a NVMe from Team Group, and actually a better one than I come to expect. I think in the video he has of this restockable build, by the way, he has a video on this type of build.
For today's episode of Flippin' Friday, we're back with another complete blueprint that I'm going to be using to make some money on a next restock build for our website, and you can literally copy this blueprint for yourself to make some more money as well.
He is actually using a different SSD that is slightly lower as far as capacity at 480 gigs. This is the 512 from Team Group that I always recommend, so really good to see that, obviously. And as far as the cooler, everything, it looks like it's the same cooler that is in the build, and this is the double check 6500 XT. So everything as far as spec wise that I can visually see is in place. I guess if someone were to buy this and upgrade it, they have quite a bit of space here to do a GPU upgrade, and they have a nice anti-sag bracket to let it sit on. So that's a pretty neat feature of Deep Cool with this case. So let's take a look around back and see how well the thing's cable managed. Alrighty, here we have it. About, I would say, what I'd come to expect with a build like this. It's pretty difficult most times to get everything looking absolutely perfect. I am interested about this fan splitter here. I'm not sure if that is actually what comes included with the case or if that's something that Zach did. Possibly, I really don't know, but that is interesting. I think that, what is this? This is a fan controller of some sort. Oh, this is the RGB controller for the fan, the CPU cooler. So it's just kind of jammed in there. There is one thing that I did find interesting, and I have to double check on the power supply. This is the EVGA 550 BP. I'll get the box real quick. All right, so here's the power supply box. So it is a 550 watt BP, as we saw down in here, because what he says it comes with is one of these, which is a Smart BM2 550 watt. This is a lower tier C class power supply. I don't know what this one is. So this is one maybe bone to pick with him on this is I understand part availability, especially sometimes power supplies are hard to get at a consistent cost. But if the substitutions are having to be made, I think what would be good here to just be fully transparent with your customers is to actually state what things have been changed in order to make the build happen. But something to maybe keep in mind for your customers is just to point out those little minor substitutions and minor critiques here. But let's give it a post test to see if it'll boot up right into a first boot up. And if it does, then it's on to seeing how well it performed based on what he claims it does. Okay, so let's get this PC booted up, but one quick little mention. I happen to notice that the PC power switch is not flipped to on. The only reason I bring this up is because I recently watched, I think just 2 videos ago or something like that, where Zach was critiquing somebody else's build from Jawa and recommended that they ship it with the power switch on.
One small negative thing that I noticed was that the power supply was switched to off, and I would highly recommend shipping with that on.
Now maybe I might have flipped that when I was getting it out of the PC box, but I don't really think so. I think maybe it just was never turned on, but just giving you a little dig there, Zach. So anyway, power switch now on. Let's boot up this PC. All right, we've got spinning fans on what seems to be everything that should be spinning. Looks like we've got some action. We've got a post. All right, and going straight into Windows. Nice. So from a consumer perspective, this is exactly what you want to see. You don't want to run into any type of issues. Looks like we've got some updates being applied and met with a pretty quick boot up with just a normal basic username admin with Windows 11 pre-installed. And it looks like we've got our AMD software for our drivers for our GPU, and he's actually installed Steam for us. So pretty good first boot up experience, and I'd have to say I really don't have anything to complain about. So really what much more else to say is let's see how well this $860 PC can perform. Alrighty, so we're just going to jump into 3 titles to benchmark since 1, this video is starting to go on long, and 2, Zach gives explicit FPS numbers on his website, so I want to compare those numbers he has listed to see if this PC truly backs up to what the website claims. First title here is Fortnite, and as you saw previously, we are running on what I generally come to know as the Pro settings, meaning all settings set to low, medium view distance, and the DirectX 12 game engine. Unfortunately, I do not know exactly what settings Zach used in his benchmarks, but I think this should be pretty darn close, if not right on, because he does mention Pro settings. So as you can see, this little system rips pretty well in terms of gaming performance, and Zach's claim on his website is this system should do 260 FPS. Now, we're doing quite well in terms of FPS, but I'm not unfortunately seeing that 256 FPS mark here. I did run this benchmark through a 10-minute gaming session like I normally do on all my benchmarks to get the best numbers I possibly can, and what I got at best was 223 FPS with 139 FPS 1% and 50 FPS for the 0.1% low. Now that is actually pretty darn good FPS considering the hardware we are using here, but we did fall a little bit short of the advertised FPS, over 30 FPS to be exact. Anywho, on to the next title, Apex. And please bear with me, I really suck at this game and won't be able to showcase any kind of awesome gaming montage, but still here we can take a look at those numbers. That said, here we are on high settings again. I'm having to infer a little bit, but I basically set everything to a considerable high setting to try to get myself as closely aligned to where I think Zach might have set his PC during this benchmark. That said, the performance here is yet again great. I managed to pull in an average of 124 FPS on average, however again does come in under the advertised FPS numbers on the website. Outside of that though, the gaming experience was very smooth, no stuttering, and I think could be also played very competitively on these settings and this hardware. Either way, let's take a look at the last title to compare benchmarks, and that being Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Okay, so again, here's a shot of the settings I used to closely again align with what I think Zach might have used with his benchmarks. He does claim to have used balanced settings, but I think what would have been smart here to use if he didn't was FSR 2.0, which is the upscaling technology from AMD to utilize the GPU most effectively and give you the best FPS. And here, interestingly enough, and bear with me, I'm also awful at this game, but we are actually exactly hitting the advertised numbers that Zach put on his website of 130 FPS. And actually my end result in terms of the numbers were obviously the 130 FPS average, 87 FPS on the 1% low, and 25 FPS on the 0.1% low. So this should make for a very good gaming experience on this PC. However, what is going on here actually? Well, I have a little bit of a skew in FPS, but it's not huge, and it's only on 2 titles, not in Modern Warfare, which is really kind of throwing me off. And I figured I'd give this the best sniff I possibly could and get an RX 6600, which I went out and actually bought by myself through a separate purchase, because when I did buy this system, as you can see, we bought it with the 6500 XT. So I must have caught one of the last editions of Zach's version 1 of the Icebreaker PC, which now comes by default with an RX 6600. So let's throw this in there, see what happens in terms of performance and FPS. Do I get better aligned with the numbers that he's saying on the website when it comes to Fortnite and Apex? Or are we gonna be looking at something a little different? And different is exactly what we ran into. So let's take a look at those numbers now with the RX 6600 in there. Fortnite now running at nearly 300 FPS on, again, the same settings, just the swap out of the GPU. And the website claims 260 FPS, so we completely destroyed that here. So what does Apex look like? Well, let's get those numbers and let them speak for themselves. And wow, do they ever. A whopping 200 plus FPS on average. That's more than 40 FPS as advertised on the website, and nearly almost 60 FPS based on what I was getting with the 6500 XT. So now you know we got to check Modern Warfare 2. And if you remember, we were getting the same numbers as advertised on the website. So what will it do now? As you can see, we are totally blowing away the numbers once again. 190 FPS on average. That's about a 60 FPS uplift from what we were getting before. Zach, you've got to fix the FPS numbers listed on your website for the Icebreaker V2 build, because clearly it's still the V1 build numbers, albeit that we had some minor anomalies with mine. However, clearly with an RX 6600 in it, it blows away those numbers. So I think that's pretty valuable information for your customers to have. You might want to check that out. All right, so to sum up the video, we've seen all the aspects of the PC on how it looks and performs. Now we've got to talk about the elephant in the room, and that being price to performance. Now, as I said earlier in the video, what caught my eye was the specs and the price. And seeing that it had an i3, seeing that it had a 6500 XT in it, I thought to myself, without really putting all the numbers together, that, well, that seems a little bit high for a PC price, being at previously was $799. Now, if you go to the website, is now $849 before shipping costs. So you're well over $900 at this point for this PC that you see here. But let's break it all down, because that might seem crazy, but there's a business to run behind this operation. And I want to be clear and transparent. And I don't want to paint Zach's name in a bad way, because when it all comes down to it, it's basically either you want to build your PC for the best price to performance, or you buy a PC from a professional that obviously delivers a good product. But let's take a look at PC Part Picker. All right, so first thing to check out, as I mentioned, the Icebreaker V2 build, again, including the RX 6600 now, is the main difference in the build, totaling up to $909 if you want to get that delivered to your home. $849 base price. $60 shipping costs, I think, is reasonable within the United States, so I'm not really going to knock that at all. I know how much it costs to ship a PC, and I'd say $60 is well reasonable. Alrighty, so over to PC Part Picker. We're just using this as a part breakdown to see what the kind of current market costs for things are, so we get a good idea. And as I mentioned, like I said, if you want the best price to performance, you buy and build yourself. And as you can see, that brings us into about $630 flat even, which is actually pretty interesting. But I also did make sure to include that the fact that we're going to use a Windows 11 key, which we can get from either Zach sponsors, even I use sponsors for these, and they only cost about $15. So I put a $15 price there. The Age of Horse extensions, again, that's an extra that Zach likes to add to, because we all know Zach, he likes his aesthetics, and that is perfectly fine. I think a good looking PC sells as well. And actually with this PC, I did include an RGB controller, which sells for about $9 on Amazon as well, because the PC that we have here actually does not have any RGB headers on the motherboard. So I can see where Zach had to do that to actually give control to the RGB fan for the CPU cooler. But everything else aside is exactly the same price build out as it is in the actual build itself here. And these are all the parts that are basically included in my build. So even though back there on the PC Part Picker page, we saw that this exact PC, to build it as you see it, costs $630. The things that you also have to remember are shipping and tax. And that generally is not included until after the fact you've put everything into your cart and you do a final checkout. So I'm gonna flat rate that at about 10%. So let's add 10% to the total cost of the build, which was $630. That should bring it right up to about $700 out the door. Buy all the parts and build it yourself. The thing that most people who are not analytically thinking about this is Zach's trying to run a business. So the $200 has to go somewhere, right? He's got staff to pay for. He's got to spend time and labor researching and acquiring the parts and fulfillment of that. He's got to build the PC and he's got to ship the PC, and all that costs money. So if I were to guess, the margins are probably pretty thin. I would say anywhere in about $40 to $50, maybe get lucky and ship it somewhere close and get a little bit of that money back on his shipping costs. But I think it's really easy to look at, and it did with me, and it was a learning lesson for me. Seeing an i3 and a 6500, like, oh, okay, well, you know, that's not worth $900. But you have to look at the full picture, being that this is not just buying a PC, it's buying a PC plus the service of the delivery to you. Like I said, it's ready to go as soon as it arrives at your house. So overall, I want to give a rating to this PC, and I've got the following categories. I feel like, Zach, you nailed it in an A+ category. The first one being obviously aesthetics. You always nail that. I don't even think I have to really argue anyway else out of that, because I agree. Yeah, you build some awesome looking PCs, dude. Secondly, and I'm just referencing my notes, build quality. Now, build quality, obviously, still, I mean, I think another A+, right? Because there really isn't a whole lot to honestly gripe about. Everything is put together well, in place. You chose good parts. There's nothing that feels extra cheap or anything like that. Build quality, A+. Another A+ category, attention to detail and care. So I can see through the whole process, the double boxing, the adding the part boxes, and even supplying the i3 cooler that you really didn't need to supply with me, because obviously we've got one already. But the fact that that money was spent on the cooler and you delivered it anyway, especially the handwritten note on the startup guide, I think that was an extra special touch, and I think that really sends a lot to the customer in terms of your passion and detail to care. Obviously, this next category goes without saying. It is performance and A+ for sure, especially if you're considering the V2 model of the Icebreaker PC, which comes with the 6600. I know I got the version 1. Unfortunately, I guess, like I said, I bought one of the last versions of the version 1. But with this setup, with the 6600, it just rips in performance. It just destroys all the 1080p games. So yeah, I can't say anything but total A+ score there. This PC does awesome. And it's got a lot of upgrade path too. The only thing I can say I'd probably give an A- to is the fact that, and this is really kind of nitpicking to be flat honest, is I understand when it comes to mass producing PCs, especially if you don't have a supplier and you're really having to hunt parts down and find them online. Part volatility sucks, but things I think would be found appreciative of your customers is to know ahead of time what types of substitutions are being made. This PC, although I know I was buying the Icebreaker PC and I could reference the part list on the website, the things that came as a surprise, obviously, as we know, and we found that through the unboxing, was the RAM was different, my SSD was different, and the power supply was different. Again, that is a bit on the nitpicky side. I think it might be easy though to at least have a handwritten note in your startup guide, or maybe in the email to the customer as they purchase, hey, this PC did have some alterations to it. These are what those alterations are. Maybe something of that level. Again, I don't know what kind of effort would be required to do something like that, but it's just, I guess, me nitpicking a little bit being a PC builder myself. Now there is one area, and Zach, I'm sorry about this, that I have to give a less than A+ rating, and that being the warranty. Clearly with your company, you're striving to be a system integrator, but warranty commands huge value for consumers. It's something very important to a consumer, especially considering the number of systems you're putting out into the wild at this point. 72 hours simply is not what I would call warranty at all, really. For example, your direct competitor PC Bros offers a 1-year standard warranty, and others like NZXT, Build Redux, Starforge, etc. offer a minimum of a 2-year warranty that can even be extended into multiple years longer. 72 hours, in my opinion, just simply is not acceptable. With such a brief period of warranty coverage time, I think just selling these PCs as is more of an accurate statement, like you do with your one-off drops. The buyer simply is just taking a risk here at this point. Now hold on, before we get all up in arms about this, I 100% realize that covering a warranty over a period of 3 days does require a lot more money and overhead in a company, but if you're aiming to be a system integrator, I think it goes without saying you gotta have something, at least I think a minimum of about a year. And the reason why I emphasize this so much is people expect a pre-built PC to work out of the box, as this one does, as we have seen. But what if there was an issue where the PC stopped working after about 7 days? Well, because we only have a 3-day or 72-hour warranty, we're basically completely out of luck. Now you might be able to subvert that just a little bit if you're tech savvy enough to fix your own problems, but basically that is what this warranty does, is here it is for 3 days, now fix your own problems if you happen to have one. So I think it goes without saying, having a warranty that at least covers the product for a good duration of time is a smart investment, and ultimately something that, you know, maybe you can bake in a little bit into your cost, but that is, I think, something that what consumers are definitely going to be looking for. So I guess while we're poking the hornet's nest, I do want to make mention that a $900 PC, in my opinion, should come with Wi-Fi. It's 2023. Just bake it into the cost of the PC if you have to. And lastly, dude, update the FPS numbers on your website. You're selling this Icebreaker PC short. It definitely does way better than the numbers that you have on your website. I know you're a busy dude, especially now. But yeah, it's clear that the 6500 XT numbers are still on your website. So sell this PC for what it's worth, because the numbers, as we saw in my benchmarks, this thing cranks with that 6600 in it. So that was honestly a pretty exhausting video. I wanted to give Zach a fair shake on this PC review. I didn't want to take and quickly run on something I thought might have been wrong or silly. Or I wanted to make sure I thoroughly looked at this PC, thoroughly benchmarked it, and thoroughly considered what all goes into building a PC and delivering it to a customer. And hats off, Zach. I know you do a ton of it, and I see and watch your Instagram stories. It seems like you got PCs flying out like crazy. So that has got to be just an exuberant amount of work. And again, like I said, hats off. But anywho, guys, to my audience, if you guys did enjoy this type of content, then let me know in the comments below. I definitely want to try to maybe get a hold of other like PC builds and do some reviews of them. And I thought it was pretty fun, although pretty exhausting as well, because I wanted to be thorough. Thanks for tuning into this one though, guys. I appreciate your time, and I'll catch you in the next one.